you should treat a revision request that is tied to a potential buyback exactly the same as you would treat a state board investigation.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
I assume some of you, maybe many of you, in the last 12 months have received some type of a potential buyback revision. I want to talk about what that is and why you should treat it with the most seriousness as you possibly can. Is that a phrase, most seriousness? Anyway, check it out. We're going to talk about that next. First, I want to pause and remind you that we are sponsored by Spark. Spark, my friends, is the ability to download information into your report seamlessly. Check them out by going to spark4appraisers.com, Spark, F-O-R, appraisers.com. All right, folks, I want to talk about potential buybacks today. What does that mean? Let's set the stage. When you do an appraisal, it is often done for, let's say it's a local bank. Okay, it may be an AMC, but that's inconsequential today as we talk about this evolution of the process, the risk management process for lenders, right? So they're going to go out and they're going to get an appraisal. Bank of ABC will get an appraisal, and then we do it on the Fannie Mae form because a lot of these, I want to say 60+%, and then another maybe 20% go to either Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. Okay, so 80+% of these are being resold on the secondary market to these big GSEs. Okay, and so we have to adhere to their regulations. That's why we use Fannie and Freddie forms. You know all of that. Of course you do. What happens, and I don't fully understand this part. I don't understand what the law says, what the abilities are, what the contracts are, but sometimes these loans go bad. Okay. When I say they go bad, the individual stops paying. There's a potential foreclosure, and Fannie may say, you know what? We didn't like this loan to begin with. I don't even know why we bought this loan. What the hell is going on here? Let's send it back to Bank of ABC. So they send it back to Bank of ABC and they say, hey, there's some problems here. Of course, they don't say that the real problem is that the borrower can't pay and doesn't pay. What they're saying is, yeah, you know, you never should have sold this to. This is your fault, Bank of ABC. Well, guess what? Bank of ABC is not going to stand there and say, yeah, you know what? You're right. Sorry about that. We'll go ahead and buy it back. Here's a $650,000 home that they've loaned on. They're just going to buy that back like it's no big deal, and now accept a situation where they also can't get the borrower to pay, right? So what are they going to do? They're going to immediately turn around and they're going to point fingers at whoever they possibly can, and that often is and starts with the appraiser. So recently we've seen some defaults, not a huge amount. It's not 2010 all over again, but we've seen some defaults, and as a consequence, we've seen some potential buybacks with Fannie Mae. When I say potential buybacks, I mean it's not a complete, hey, let's send this back to Bank of ABC. What they're saying is, you know what, this is not going well for us. Fannie is saying this, you know what, this is not going well for us. So we're going to reach out to Bank of ABC and say, hey, what's up, dudes? Why did you sell us a crap loan? And Bank of ABC is going to go, what are you talking about? We didn't sell you a bad loan. It was the appraiser's fault. So they reach out to the appraiser and they say, hey, we want you to change this, this, and this in the appraisal. And this might be 6, 9, 12, 2 years, 24 months after the appraisal was done. I personally have seen some of these this year. My team has seen some of these this year. And my clients, as the appraiser coach, have seen lots of these this year. Okay, these are popping up more in the last little while than they have in a long time. And often my clients will reach out to me and say, hey, Dustin, what gives? What should I do here? Right? This is a revision. Now, here's the thing. They come across as a revision, but they typically are escalated. Okay, you know there are a revision that is related to a potential buyback because, first of all, they're old, right? That's hint number one. Second of all, they say something about it in the revision, right? This is a potential buyback from Fannie Mae. Treat this very seriously. Fannie Mae has asked these questions and we're passing them on to you because you suck as an appraiser and this is all your fault, right? My question to you today, and the answer that I'm going to give you after the break, is what do you do when you get a revision with a potential buyback? First, I want to pause and remind you that we're sponsored by a great company called Spark. What is Spark? That's a weird word, right? Spark. Well, in fact, it's become a noun for many appraisers. They say they spark their appraisal, right? And basically what they're saying is after you've chosen comps and you've got the right subject matter and everything else, and you've got everything connected, one button and all of that stuff gets imported into your report, including some other graphs and different things. It's really cool, right? The comps go into the grid, the subject matter goes into the subject section. You've got on and on some really, really cool things that are imported at the touch of a button that saves you time. And guess what, folks? You heard it here first. When you save time, you save money as an appraiser. Who doesn't want to save money? The cost of Spark is not a cost. It is an investment in you and your business and your efficiency. Please check them out. Spark4appraisers.com, Spark, F-O-R, appraisers.com. And welcome back, everybody. We're talking today about revisions, specifically about potential buyback revisions. And what do you do when you get that letter? I will tell you what you should not do. And it is unfortunately what many appraisers have done. And I'll be honest with you, in the past, I've been stupid and have done the same thing. And that is you answer the revisions. Now, of course, you're going to answer a revision, Dustin. This is coming from the lender. Revisions are things that appraisers do. In fact, you, Dustin Harris, have told me multiple times that if I'm going to get work and if I'm going to be a good little employee of the AMCs, that I got to get those revisions done quickly, that I got to take those things very seriously because it affects my turn time. So why wouldn't I take care of that? And the answer is liability. Now, I am not in any way saying that you should not answer the revision. What I am saying is that you should treat a revision request that is tied to a potential buyback exactly the same as you would treat a state board investigation. Let me repeat that. It is my opinion that when you get a revision for a potential buyback, you should treat that revision exactly like you would a state board investigation. Why, Dustin? Well, honestly, because it may turn into that. And I would say often, I'm going to use the word often turns into that. Yes, you heard me right. A potential buyback is, I would say, a better than 50% chance that you're going to end up with a state board investigation because Fannie Mae, Bank of ABC, they take these things very seriously. This is their money, folks. They want to make sure that their money is treated with care, and they feel they've been ripped off and they are coming after you. You are no longer their friend at this point. Okay, so don't act like you are. What you now go into is CYA mode. Okay, it's a family-friendly program, but I'm going to say it anyway. That's called cover your ass, right? That means that sorry, you should have closed the kids' ears. Sorry about that, kids. It's spelled ASS, by the way. It's called CYA because you are in protection mode at this point. Okay, so when my clients reach out to me and say, "Hey, Dustin, I got a revision request from an AMC, and it's specifically because of a potential buyback. What should I do?" I tell them three things. Number one, let them know that you got the revision and ask for an extension. Tell them that this is something you're going to take seriously and you want some time to take care of it. That's number one. It's not going to affect your turn time. This was turned in 6 months ago, a year ago. Don't worry about the turn time thing. Totally different than what I've advised you in the past with regard to revisions. So number one, ask for an extension. Number two, call your E&O, call OREP Insurance, call Isaac Peck and say, "Hey, I've got this, tell me how to proceed," and follow their advice. "Well, Dustin, that's going to increase my premium." No, it's not. Folks, it's not. That is the biggest myth out there, that when you call your OREP, when you call your insurance, your E&O insurance, that they're going to increase your premium because you called them. It's not going to happen. Okay, it probably will never turn into anything, but they need to know. Okay, that's step number two. Step number three, you guessed it, call my good friend Tim Anderson. Reach out to him at tim@theappraisersadvocate.com and say, "Tim, I got a potential buyback. I know it's going to cost me a little bit of money to hire you, but it's worth it to me. This is my license on the line. This is my liability on the line." You don't have to say all these things. He understands this. I'm just telling you, this is why you should call Tim Anderson. Okay. Or some other mentor, advocate, what have you, someone that you might be, associated with. That's okay. But this is what Tim does, right? In addition to coming on my program and doing for free Dear USPAP instructor, he is also an advocate for appraisers in this situation. Okay. Treat it very seriously. The answers you give may or may not be held against you in court. Okay. I'm using that term. It's obviously not court, but could be used against you on a state board level. Okay. I will tell you briefly of an experience that I had with a recent client of mine. Okay. Client came to me after the fact. Okay. Came to me and said, I've got a state board investigation. I said, okay, well, tell me about it. What's going on? And he said, well, about 3 months ago, I had a potential buyback and it was revision, and I answered the questions and I sent them in. And now they sent all of that. Fannie Mae sent all of that to the state board. And now the state board wants my report, my work file, my revision that I did 3 months ago. And I said, did you get help with your answers on those revisions? And they, of course, said, no, I thought it was just a revision, no big deal. The answers I gave, I think were pretty good, but now it's kind of coming back to bite me. Okay. Here's the thing. Now the state board is basing their decision very heavily on how you answered that 3 months ago. And if you did it on your own, it might be fine, but I doubt it. Right? Hire somebody with a brain that has dealt with this stuff over and over again. Call your E&O. Okay. If you've got OREP, which you should, call your E&O and make sure that they are aware of what's going on. They will advise you on how to proceed. I promise you, folks, you are not going to regret the advice that I'm giving you today. When you get a revision and you decipher that it has to do with a potential buyback, immediately start treating this as you would a state board investigation, because it might become one. Thank you for joining me today, folks. If you only listen to the episodes, the minisodes, I will shout out here as well. We are looking for ideas on how to celebrate our 1,000th episode of the Appraiser Coach podcast. That's right. We are coming up on our 1,000th episode this year. And I would love to hear your ideas as to how we celebrate that. What do we do this year that would be something cool for that 1,000 episode? I have no ideas at all. None. Zero. Haven't even thought about it. I just want to throw it out there and find out what my listeners have to say. Reach out to me, the coach at theappraisercoach.com. Go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.